Oh, okay. Oh, it doesn't hurt. Got that? Anybody else?
Yeah, I did get your name on the, my
The
apologies.
final version.
Yeah.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to move the minutes as amended by Rich, seconded by Rich Mengy. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, unanimous. And what's the board's pleasure? Shall we, well, we're gonna be starting with, I mean, there's no point in getting started with the other stuff.
We might be able to answer those 3 questions I had about
All right,
the
so
final version.
the thing with Judy is, yeah, we should, why, of course.
Yes.
Who wants to do that?
I will, I'm
Okay.
happy
And what was the second question?
to.
A couple of choice of adjectives.
Oh, the way?
Yeah,
That's fine.
in evaluating instead of in considering,
Right, no.
and must weigh multiple factors instead of must consider in the last paragraph.
Right.
And then the last piece of the section that says reference data, we have undercurrent zoning, a maximum of a half
Yeah.
acre. Does that belong,
Well,
I had it written down here.
I have
And then I
notes.
didn't have a circle or arrow.
Well, I have the notes on that.
Yeah.
And as I recall, we just, the final thing, I mean, it's fine with me in either case, but Rich and, there was some discomfort with it being in the reference status, so I thought there was a good solution. And it was moved, according to my notes, to the, under current zoning, a maximum of a half an acre of development is allowed.
Where you
But
put
where
it
would
in?
that
Where
be?
is it?
Where's it
At the top of the last paragraph.
Before, in.
So you take out, in evaluating zoning changes needed to allow, under current zoning, a maximum of a half acre of development is allowed, period.
And then in
And
evaluating.
then if multi-acre solar arrays are favored in Lyme, what was that? Let me look.
Recording in progress.
Oh, no. As we consider allowing multi-solar arrays in Lyme, this is the,
So it just becomes the first sentence in the
it's
last
the
paragraph.
first sentence, and then
The last
everything
paragraph.
was struck, and then the next line was, as we consider allowing multi-acre solar arrays in Lyme, we value your opinion. Please fill out the attached
Take
questionnaire.
out the whole first
You
sentence.
don't wanna take, I thought we had included the weighing multiple factors, I thought that was.
Well, here are my notes, and it says, first line, under current zoning, a maximum of half acre of development is allowed, then striking the next sentence and adding, as we consider allowing multi-acre solar arrays in Lyme, we value your opinion. Please fill out the attached questionnaire. Okay. So you can,
Strike the first sentence,
and replace,
bring in the current,
under current zoning, a maximum of a half acre of development is
It's a
allowed.
little hard to see how those sentences follow. I know they do, but
I don't have a problem with
yeah, I think the average Lyme resident though might.
it. Well, then we can leave it up there. I mean, that was what we came up with as a compromise. Whatever the board's pleasure is.
I thought it was okay up under the reference.
I did too.
In the reference
Yeah.
section.
It's another piece of
I'm not
information.
prepared to make it my life.
Okay.
No.
All right, so
Yeah.
we'll leave it up there. And so how is this final thing going to read? Back to the way it was, and considering zoning changes needed to allow multi-acre solar arrays in Lyme. The planning board must consider multiple factors such as local energy use and aesthetics. Please share your feedback.
I personally think it's nice to have that in there, you know, that the board is weighing what the board has to weigh. I think it's good information.
Well, one thing that's an issue is space, because basically, we're at the bottom of the page here, so I don't think we have a lot of,
Well, it all fit.
It all,
It all fit the original version, all fit.
okay, so let's leave the original version.
The draft that I sent out, the August first version.
Yeah, let's just go with that.
All right,
John,
Yeah.
there was one other change, I'd say, in the second to last paragraph, instead of saying another step toward 100%, perhaps another path toward 100%.
I think we've gone back and forth with that, but a path is fine with me. I think path was in there at one point, but path is, I like path.
Because it
I
says,
actually think it's better.
because it
instead
says, this is an alternative,
Yeah.
instead of,
Of a part of a process, yeah, I agree.
good, thank you.
Path, another path.
I would, remove the Article A on the last sentence under reference data. Maximum of half an acre of development is allowed. I
Okay,
don't think you need the there.
yeah, okay,
Two paragraphs down.
Wait, under maximum, under current zoning,
a maximum of
A
half an
maximum.
acre,
Oh.
strike the
The A,
that A,
Yes.
I was like, what?
Not the first
I was like,
Two paragraphs
I
down from
speak well
that,
English.
Mhm.
the sentence that begins beyond, the paragraph that begins with beyond,
Yes.
I think the word town toward the end of that first line should be capitalized, because we're referring
Yeah.
to the town of Lyme.
yeah, yeah.
And 2 lines down from that, I think you could remove the word energy and make that sentence more readable.
Where's this? 2 lines down from that.
For example, Lyme residents have the option of switching suppliers to one that offers a 100% renewable source of electricity.
Yeah, yeah,
Sure.
good catch. Save space.
Same thing,
It doesn't make any difference, it doesn't give you a new line.
Oh, but it just looks, it looks so roomy now.
okay.
Okay,
I'll ask Judy. Well,
and then,
we want to ask her if she won't minds having paper copies
right, she
and
took
accept-
paper copies last year.
and accepting the deliveries.
If she would, if
Yes.
not, she could tell them to bring it to the town offices.
Well, or she could collect, I imagine if we gave her a box, people.
She might have
might have boxes.
boxes in the library. I can't assure it.
They have lots of crafty people.
So, one thing on the question thing, the questionnaire page, I thought we took out, I don't want any solar arrays in Lyme. It was just gonna say, small scale roof and ground mounted panels are enough.
what number is it?
The first question, the first, this right
Yeah,
here.
Oh, I see, just take out the
Yeah,
initial phrase.
we
Okay.
wanted to get rid of
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Yeah, I was, this
I know,
this is
I
an
know.
unregulated meeting, everybody talks at the same time.
Yeah, it's out of control.
So what are we taking out?
I
So-
want any solar arrays in
Yeah, that first line.
Just start capital,
Capital,
small scale.
Yeah, small, capital S.
Got it.
So,
And I
So-
did wanna just show everybody that when you print it, the tab leaders do, if anybody does, they don't come out, you just print
Okay,
from the
great.
email, but there's, all the check boxes are appropriate.
Small scale.
right.
So, and maybe in that same question, do we wanna say roof and small scale ground mounted panels instead of small scale roof and ground?
They're both small scale applies to both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty much, anybody that's got a roof, I promise they're not over the lot coverage. So-
Yeah, let's not get.
All right,
I wouldn't guarantee that.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's not go
You're
there.
smarter than me then.
so does anybody else have a problem with the word limits in, question number 7?
7, limits. What other thoughts?
Oh,
Good point. Yeah, I would take that out. What other thoughts or concerns?
You got it.
Very good point. Thank you.
All right. Limits?
Why are we taking that?
Because what,
It
They're
doesn't
already-
follow
this-
grammatically. I
well,
don't
it's just,
believe.
why is it,
Well-
we're asking for thoughts or concerns.
right, if people say,
They've had many chances to express a limit.
Yeah.
that's right, and if people wanted to reinforce that they don't think there should be any solar arrays in Lyme, they can write it here too. They'll think of the limits by themselves.
Yeah, if you were gonna say, do do you have any other limits to propose?
Yeah, suggested
Regarding-
limitations would be the way to make it parallel,
Yeah.
but I don't.
I think
Well,
it's
this
good.
is a
I
general,
think it's,
this is a general catch-all, and it's like if you did that thing, which of these words does not belong here? That you'd probably come up with that, but I mean, it's fine with me to keep it in there if people want it.
I
and
don't
we
know, it just
also-
doesn't read right.
But
It's
I
not
feel,
parallel.
I feel like we should let this go at this point.
Well, I
Yeah.
have one,
Yeah.
not to,
Oh, okay, except for Tim's,
well, I just
except
wanna
for
bring
Tim's.
this up, I know we probably can't fit it all. I was looking through my file and I came up with this piece of paper, I don't know where it came from, but it says the planning board has received a suggestion that Lyme could permit solar energy systems, solar panels of any size as long as they are visually well screened to reduce the impact on neighbors. And I just wonder whether we wanna put anything in there about visually screened, I don't, in the questionnaire,
Well,
it says anything
where it
about.
is,
well-
where it is visually
Yeah,
unobtrusive.
visually unobtrusive is in there.
Visually unobtrusive, I mean, I agree with, we talked about that.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, I mean, I did have I gave up, but I mean, I did have a problem with unobtrusive, because what does that mean? It's not.
Right, I mean, I think this is
I think,
saying.
I think we could say where it is visually screened.
Yeah, I mean, the question is saying, I think that you could have any size.
If you change
If it's
unobtrusive
changed.
to screen, you just dropped that whole grade level.
Yeah, it's a tough word,
It is.
because it's vague. What is
But
it?
I think it should be vague, because you also have where I can't see it, so I mean, somebody
Okay.
could check
So,
visually
I think we should
unobtrusive
just,
and
we should just
I
leave
can't
it.
see it, and
Let's,
Okay.
let's put this to bed.
I'm sorry, I have one last
Oh
point
my
of order.
God, yes, yes.
We can't have www.putthesurveysomeplace.gov as
Yeah,
it
right, so, Amy, you're feeding right into the note that I sent to David about 30 minutes ago. I took the liberty of copying and pasting both these pages into a Google survey that people could look at. Took like 20 minutes to do that. So David might be able to show it on the screen and just say, this is what it would look like if people wanted to take it online. I strongly recommend we make it available online for a couple reasons. A lot of people are gonna prefer that. And we can have a nice, probably not put the survey someplace.gov, but we can have a nice URL for
Well, it
it.
would be nice if it went through the town.
I was gonna use a bit.ly URL shortener that just went to, the horrible long rules form.
I think it would have, I mean, it would have to be under the town auspices. It can't be
Well, I mean,
just
so,
somebody.
the second point I was gonna make is when we did the LCDC,
Yeah.
we had quite a decent response on the online form, to the point that we actually had a party to take all the,
I was there, I recall.
to take all the paper responses and type them into the website as if people had filled them out.
Okay, so let's break this down into different issues. The first is, do we wanna do, an online version?
Yes.
All right, so we're all on board with that. So then the second question is how, is it possible to do it through the town?
Our website does not support any type of survey. You would have to use one of the third-party survey, like SurveyMonkey or whatever. I don't.
So, and it.
And you
yeah, I
could
mean,
put a link to that survey on the town website.
Yes.
Maybe, can you put one on the listserv as well?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
absolutely.
that-
So, I mean, the only thing about that, and we did it last time, okay, is that there's, it's just so easy, people from, where you're banned in Great Britain, people in Great Britain could vote on Lyme zoning, so.
True.
I'm sure they will.
It's true.
So, I mean, last time we had a lot of people from, what was it, Bristol, I think. Yeah.
So we could put a bogus name on the street,
Yeah,
we could put Turnpike Road or something like that. Anybody that checks Turnpike Road, ding,
that's a good
you're
idea.
out of the pool. I'm not too worried about, we should be so lucky that people pay enough
That,
attention to
that
this.
one person votes 30 times.
Right.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
Is there
okay.
any way, I don't, I've never used one of these survey things, but is there any way to capture an IP address?
Yes, it comes automatically, yes.
Oh, so we could capture.
So you could-
Right, so if you found 30 with the same IP address, it's either they're filling them out of the school
Right.
or they're cheating.
Right,
Because the school's all gonna have the same IP
Right.
address.
Yeah, same thing with the library.
Or the
Or the
library.
library, right.
Right.
But, I mean, what I'm looking for is a major,
right.
if
Aberration.
you get 30, you're
You might
doing
get-
pretty good anyway,
You might
so.
get 3 out of our.
No, well, last time, with the LCDC, I think we got 150. Is that right?
Some number
Yeah,
like
I
that,
think
but we got quite a decent response.
So you can
Yeah.
extract the data in some analyzable form from Google
It's a
search.
nice Excel
I'm
spreadsheet.
so happy because SurveyMonkey is a bear.
Is it? Yeah.
It does, brings you the data in a
I
stupid
thought we
form, so
used
you-
SurveyMonkey last time.
I'm pretty sure it was Google Forms,
Oh, was it
because
Google?
when I went
Okay.
there, it's like,
Okay,
there's my old one. So-
all right, so we're gonna do that. Do we still need an address for the paper copies?
I think, oh, no.
Or did you do that?
It does,
It's easy to do, I would use bit.ly, bit.ly, and then it could be Lyme Solar Survey.
Okay,
And that would redirect to that Google form.
no,
Does anybody want to see it, or?
So does that print out everybody's address to go on the envelopes?
So it's just a link to this survey that has, this page at the top, and then all these questions farther down.
Right. But no, I guess I was
Yeah.
asking, like, if we're gonna mail them out,
Oh,
then
right.
we have to have some way to print everybody's address, is that right?
Yeah, you would-
I don't know how
It
that
goes-
works.
You just go to postal patron.
yeah,
Yeah, it goes,
goes to everybody in town.
yeah, we'll go to a postal paper.
Oh,
and
okay, so
it's-
it'll be, so the post office will do, yeah.
Yeah.
But you raised the point that we need an address. Oh, we'll just put the bit.ly on
Right,
the
instead
mail.
of-
Okay,
you
got
put
it,
it-
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
And then.
So you can provide that?
Yeah. It's trivial to do, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so can we agree this is what we got?
So I will ask Evie to send me an update to.
and then can we just have David Robbins or you review what Rich has?
Yeah, why don't you send us a link?
Just,
Why-
because it's gonna be under the auspices of.
Why don't you
the
send
planning
the link to everybody?
Okay.
If anybody has a comment, they can, what's the best thing, to send it to you?
To me,
Right, and if it's.
Because we're not gonna do this until September anyway.
Right, well, that's true too, but I mean, so if it's just, oh wait, you spelled
Right,
Goose Pond wrong,
right.
David can take that feedback and pass it to me to tweak up the form.
But if we get a thing where, we've thought this over some more and we think we should start all over,
Right.
then we'll have the
Then
opportunity.
then we'll get to start all over.
Then we'll get to start.
Right.
All right.
rioting in the streets.
So, okay, we got everybody on board with this? Fantastic. Wasn't easy, but we got it done. Okay, so then, I guess these folks aren't gonna show.
I guess not, I double checked my email.
So then, until and if they show up, my next question for everybody is, this is gonna go out in September, so we probably won't get everything back till, we'll give people 2 weeks, that's what we did last time. So, we would get, stuff back by the second meeting in September? Is that reasonable, or would we really be doing October?
October, because by the time, I'm gonna have to get this thing down to Staples, get it all processed, everything, put it in envelopes, and.
Right, so
back.
first one in October.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a little bit of time.
What's the date we have for January?
Yeah, so that's the other thing. once we get everything back and add it up, we're gonna have to go fast. So one thought was to review what we did last year, because at least that's a template. But feedback will probably end up with a different amendment, but we can at least have that. Uh-oh.
He's back.
You know, for 5 seconds, they'll
So
nail you.
we'll find out,
Yeah.
we'll find out, right.
What degree of
The select
sensitivity?
board bought what I asked for, we wouldn't be having this problem.
Be that as it may, so we're gonna have to work fast, so it'd probably be a good idea to look at our provisional amendment from last year, just to have a framework so that we don't start from scratch. So we have the actual amendment, and we also had a provisional site plan review, well, conditional use thing, so. Does everybody have those, or do they?
I will send them out
Send
again
them.
to everybody.
Tim, you were supposed to swallow that, and, yeah, I think that looks suspiciously similar.
I think this is the latest one.
Yeah, I think that's right. But you have that, David, right?
Yeah.
So we'll all get that.
Yeah, I will.
We'll all be working from the same thing.
Yep, I will send out everything.
And then we're really, you know, we're up against it as usual, we're gonna have to get this done. So, and in between, we're gonna have a little time, for the first time in a while. Do we wanna start talking about housing, or do we just wanna push that off until we're completely done with this?
We have the steep slopes review tonight. Next week, we do have a quick subdivision hearing for Ray Clark for the condos.
Oh, it's a condo subdivision.
Condo
Yeah.
subdivision, you don't have a whole lot
Yeah,
of,
we just do it.
yeah, there's not a
It's
lot.
like the one we did for years.
It's
Yeah.
just basically a rubber stamp.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of,
Yeah, because he's already talked about it. We already
well,
talked
you've
about
already,
it.
you've done the site plan review, and so it's just now, I've got the condo docs and everything here for everyone.
Well, anyway, we'll have the hearing, and if people have issues, they can.
But that's gonna take up some time
Right.
next week.
Do we want to
Or we can-
plan sometime late fall to have an information session about solar?
I think it's a good
warrant?
idea, so that people aren't,
We will know by then what the sense, more about what the sense of the town is.
well, let's say, so explain what you have in.
Well, I mean, we have already got the guts of one level of solar amendment. Just about
We
set
have
to
a
go.
framework.
Well, it was just about ready to go, and you just decided not to.
Right.
So, I mean, the only thing you would be doing would be adding something that the
Well,
large.
not necessarily.
That potentially adding
Yeah.
a large,
No, I mean, not necessarily, we're not, this is a new year. I mean, people may go back and look at that based on information from what we've gone over this year and wanna change things. Or people may just say, oh, this is fine. So I wouldn't say, oh, the board is committed to exactly that.
not absolutely, but I think that the sense of the board at the end. of
Last year.
Last year was,
I'm saying that in the context of, we just went over the finalized version of the questionnaire that we've been over 300 times, and there were still changes at the end, so.
but all I'm saying is that we could, in broad strokes, talk about what the thought is around the solar amendment, and if the sense of the town is that they wanna allow multi-acre arrays, then have that be part of the information that's shared.
So, but what do you mean by shared? Shared in people come to the meeting?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, have a public meeting, public information.
So I think before we do that, we should get, I think it's a good idea, but before arranging it, we should get the feedback.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, no, the survey first,
Get the results, and then
and then.
we.
But not wait for everything to be perfect before we talk to the
No, no,
public.
no. And then but I do think we should, as a board at that point, once we have information about what the town wants, we should talk together about, with that framework.
Sure,
And see what people wanna do.
right.
And then once we're clear, we can speak with some unity on what we're gonna do.
Because I agree with you, Evie, but I think one difference is that we've learned a lot since we
Yeah.
finished.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
all this new information that we've come up with.
Well, that's why we, as I recall, that's why we put it off, because when Kearsarge showed up, we realized we really
We
didn't
didn't know
know
Jack.
Jack,
Yeah, I mean,
Jack
we're gonna
Daniels.
go back and stop talking about drip edges.
Right.
But that's only the area.
Yeah, I mean, I
Small.
think we have a framework
Yeah.
that's still usable,
Yeah.
but we might wanna change some things or not.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I think that's a good idea,
November.
yeah. So we really generally only have one meeting in November and December. We have in the past, when we've been up against it, which is almost all the time, scheduled an extra meeting, so we have that option.
So, help me think this through. We must have a public hearing on the final wording. And in fact, we always
And
have,
possibly
we
to-
always leave that option to have a second public hearing in case somebody says, wait a minute, and it seems like.
And, yeah, that's,
So we must have,
But that would be
One.
like the end of January, because the
Yes.
final wording has to go in like the first week in February.
that's right, yes.
do you know what the date is this year?
I don't have the dates.
But it's typically the February sixth.
Yeah, sometime, right?
And so, what I think you're proposing here is to have some kind of a public forum, when we get a sense of what the survey said, we can talk about, here's what we're thinking, we got this amendment kind of queued up, ready to
Right,
go.
we have the general,
This is what we're gonna
what do
talk
you
about,
think?
right? Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, so we're gonna have, we've got that condo subdivision next week. I'm assuming if these folks don't come tonight, they'll probably wanna come, next meeting.
If they can come tonight, they are going to the zoning board next week, so
So,
But they can't, they're not allowed to go to the zoning board.
without
That's-
the board's
Yeah,
comment.
right.
So, yes, it would have to get, the board would have
Do
to
you have his phone
continue
number?
it.
Do you want to call him?
No, I've been in contact with these people constantly, and it's their project. If they decide not to show up, that's their issue,
yeah,
not mine.
so
I'm not gonna hold
the
people's
the
hands.
zoning board meeting becomes moot because they're not allowed to go without.
Right, and so
having
if the board doesn't,
But
We can still provide feedback.
yeah, you can absolutely provide.
So why don't we
feedback.
do that?
yeah, I mean, I had brought up to David, I guess, about whether we really needed to see it. I mean, I personally think I need to I can't really tell until I walk it, you know, to see it, because I mean, I've actually been to the house, but I've never walked down there where he's, so I just was thinking that maybe we should just, as a board, go out there and look at it.
It's fine with
I
me.
drove by it.
But you have to walk, you can see
Well,
the
you
hill,
can-
but you can't see where they're gonna put them.
Well, you've got the map, and you can guesstimate.
I mean, it's kind of too bad, I had asked if they would put a stake out, because that
I
didn't.
remember you
Well, I
asked
think
me.
really the question is it gonna be visible? And it's definitely gonna be visible.
This is from the road.
From, Maple
So-
Lane, and then the.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure.
No,
Oh,
that's,
yeah, it definitely is.
so let me
Yeah.
just review what the objectives of that district are, the steep slopes district, because those are the things we're responsible for commenting on. So, first thing, the first relevant thing is the development, which is the solar panel, cannot reasonably be located outside the steep slope district and will be done in the least intrusive manner to the steep slopes district. So, David, what's your take on that? Can it reasonably be located outside the steep slopes?
There, there are two issues with locating it outside of the steeps, or where, not where they want it. There are other locations where it could be, and it's the reasonable, it's a very open, vague
Right,
term.
it is.
The reasonableness of it, you're going to increase the distance you have to run the power and trenching down to where the meter is. So you could put it on the back side of the property, there's a flat area. If you look at the map that I, here I can.
If they put it on the backside of the property, they won't run to the meter, they'll run straight to the house. But it's still going to be too far to avoid the cable change. And that's what's gonna cost $12,000.
Right.
So there's and,
It's gonna cost them $12,000 more?
that's right, and it's going to be a less efficient
Okay.
solar flex by about 30%. 65
Right.
versus
Right.
92 or something.
So David, from what you know, my impression was they were putting it on kind of a level area. I mean, there's a slope and there's kind of a shelf, a flat area,
There's
and it
a,
drops off. I mean, I haven't seen it, but,
You can,
so they were actually putting it where it's pretty
So-
flat, or
So
sort of flat.
here's some pictures I took that show from, I'm standing on the road here, and you can see the peak of the house, and then you look over to the left, and off the driveway, there's a small tree, and it's up behind there that they're talking about putting it. So, just keep
you
swiping.
can see
swipe
where those contour lines
So
begin
which
to
tree-
separate.
which-
a
No,
little
that's,
bit.
It's a
see,
little
the
That's-
peak of the
that
house,
is-
you can
yeah,
just
it's
see
fine.
the house.
But
Yeah.
those are
But
two
here-
foot.
If you look over, this is the
Right.
driveway
Each
going in,
one of
and
those
so
is 2
they're
feet
talking about
of
putting it over
elevation.
there,
This is a
up
27,
behind this little tree.
this is a 27% slope.
But
Yeah, I should have walked down there, I didn't walk.
It's really, really
there's two
steep.
Because you can't see it from the
I'm,
house.
I'm amazed
And
that
this
they
is
can
looking
even
up the
do
hill
it.
from there,
it's this
Yeah,
area,
see,
down the hill.
right in
And
here.
then
driveway
Rusty
snakes
took the
around,
topsoil off
and
that
that
hillside,
spot
and then
is
they never
up from
fixed
the
it.
driveway.
So they
So
have,
do you have
he's gotta
a
spend a
shot of
bunch
the
of money or
spot?
something to fix
I
that slope.
think
so
it's,
it
I think
doesn't
it's up there,
erode
it's
it.
behind.
But the shot, I mean, not the
Somehow
shot
it's got- he's
itself,
got
the
somebody
spot
working
itself.
on it.
That's
No,
what I'm
but I
saying,
mean,
it's
he
that
should,
little
because
level
it's gonna
spot
just
up
keep
behind,
eroding.
near the
Yeah.
I think he's gonna
driveway.
have to
I
spend
mean, we can't-
a
But
lot, he
we
had
can't, we
somebody
can't
here
see the
working on
actual
that, I
spot.
think, trying to
Well,
figure out how
without
they're gonna
going
keep that.
Yeah.
up on the
Right.
land.
I mean, this summer it probably eroded.
All right, so folks, this is
It's already
up,
clear.
up by the
Maybe
tree.
if I sent them.
And I've got a picture just like that.
Yeah, this is the beginning of the driveway, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's somewhere up here somewhere, right? It's gonna be, yes, but maybe.
I would
back
say it's
further.
just behind that small tree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
That's what I
the,
concluded.
the next main thing is to prevent soil erosion. So I think the main
Right, I
issue
know.
is.
They've already clear cut that slope.
Yeah,
Well, but
Rusty-
that,
I think Rusty Estes
He did.
supposedly
He
took off the
took off the
topsoil and
topsoil.
sold it, and then never fixed it, so I think the people there now are gonna have to spend a lot of money to fix that.
but that's
slope.
the point, is whatever state it's in now is the state it's in. The history doesn't matter.
Right.
So there's a modification where they're putting this in there. And we're supposed to comment on, it's our responsibility to consider the issue of soil erosion. That's our job.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I
your
would,
face doesn't open it?
No,
I mean,
aren't you glad?
the engineers, I'm sure, are required to come up with that plan. The ones who designed this, you know, the
It's-
site.
Solar reflector.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very, it's a lovely, I like your openness, but it's a little bit naive.
They do not have a site engineer.
Yeah.
There's no engineering.
We can't go on the assumption that, oh, everything's gonna be fine. We wanna
Yes.
say everything is gonna be fine because, show us.
And that can be a recommendation from the board.
Right.
That, you know, they have a
Sure.
engineered solution to prevent erosion, you know, during construction, because they're going to have to, I assume, bring some equipment up.
Yeah, I don't even see how they're gonna put equipment there. It's
Oh,
so
no.
steep.
No, they can. They've already dug a trench and brought power into the two buildings in the past.
Yeah, but I think they probably dug the trench along the driveway, which is the,
No,
which
the
is
trench,
the least.
no, the trench comes from below on the road and cuts up over like,
So,
it cuts over from this side.
Well, I don't know of a piece of equipment that will do that. I mean,
Well,
at
that's-
that angle is so steep, you have to do all kinds of tricks to.
so
to keep
let's put this in context. We're not deciding whether they can or they can't.
Yeah.
This is an advisory opinion. We can just say, something to the effect, the board, thinks that erosion, controls should be considered. You know, we don't have to
Yeah.
be.
More specific than that?
We can be.
I mean, but the only issue is that they don't erode their sonotube or something and have the whole thing collapse.
Right, that is the issue.
Right.
Well, it's no, you should also be considering, you know, any type of disturbance, the trenches, the tubes, you don't wanna, you create trenches that sink down and create channels that are going to,
Exactly, right.
Well, I think he's got a culvert down there
not that the
along the
channels for
driveway
the,
that goes right into that melon brook or whatever, Henry. There's a big brook that goes right back.
Hughes.
Hughes Brook.
Hughes Brook.
So,
I still think that to have an educated opinion, I think we're gonna have to look at,
Well,
at least I think we're gonna have to look at.
what is, how does everybody feel about a site visit?
Because we may get there at site visit and say, oh, this is impossible, you know, or we might say that maybe.
Well, we might
it's
go there and
possible.
say, what are we even, what, this is
I would do
fine.
a site visit if they're not even showing up to the meeting. I would,
Yeah.
I think you could reasonably infer that maybe they changed their mind at this point.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, or we could just say, hey, if you're gonna pursue this, we
Yeah.
wanna have a site visit.
I think that's,
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
probably.
I think one of the questions I have is, you know, this gets into all of the conservation districts. I suspect that one could install whatever they wanna install there and take measures and be 99% sure that it's not gonna erode any further than the rest of what's gonna erode. But, you know, is that what the precedent that we wanna set for our conservation districts
Well,
and
but
solar projects?
let's remember our role here. This is not the board's case. We are being asked to comment and only comment on, I mean, we can, in the context, comment on other things, but we're really being asked to comment on the impacts on the steep slopes, and David, correct me if I'm wrong.
nope, you are absolutely correct.
So, can we go over those?
Yeah,
Because I
so-
tried to approach it from this point of view also.
So, will there be any, okay,
So what part of the?
it's
Where are
three,
they?
what is it?
Which book are
So
we in?
there's.
It's in the zoning ordinance,
Three, something.
page 14, yeah,
It's in the zoning ordinance,
page 16, 3,
page 6.
327.2.
7, 2.
Steep slopes conservation, page 6.
So the first part is not relevant.
I have it in one in my bag. We looked at this last time.
When you get to this, the sentence that starts with the primary objective of the Steep Slopes Conservation District, that's where it starts getting relevant. And it's to limit the nature and intensity of development of steep slopes to those usage which can be harmoniously, appropriately, and safely located on steep slopes and thereby serve the following additional objectives. Prevent soil erosion, protect surface waters from sedimentation, turbidity, runoff of stormwater, and prevent soil erosion, and prevent effluent from sewage disposal systems. 3, preserve tree cover and other vegetative cover. 4, protect wildlife habitat. 5, preserve scenic views. 6, protect natural areas. And 7, maintain ecological balance. Those are the relevant parts. So, I mean, really 1 and 2 are the main thing.
But I don't think that it's going to be any worse, 1 and 2. with this
Well,
installation.
that's
Then-
what we need to determine.
Right.
But how, you're basing that on what?
I don't know, I guess I'm just thinking that you just put a hole in the ground and you stick this thing and the water runs by either way.
Yeah, but it also, you have a very large surface that is going to cause that water to sheet off and pool.
Oh, you mean
The
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 array
panel,
itself.
the array
But that water would
itself.
otherwise just fall on the hillside where the array is anyways, right?
Right, but you're gonna concentrate it. Any vegetative buffer
But
that's gonna
that's gonna
slow
be
the water.
moving all the time, though, Dick. So
Right, but
it's,
you're still,
so
you're,
it's gonna be like a sprinkler.
well, no,
Very, very slow.
it actually, sometimes if, depending on the weather, they will fold up and vertical, and then that's nothing. Other times, if it's really windy, they will go flat. So you could end up on a rainstorm that has wind, that panel just going completely horizontal.
But one rainstorm is probably not gonna,
Talk to Scott Bailey about that.
We haven't had unusual rain events in this area in a long time. Look, let's,
well, okay,
So
so,
maybe the thing to say is, you know, in the absence of any feedback from the applicant, we would ask the zoning board to be mindful of erosion and runoff. And just ask them.
that is an option,
Yeah, if the
Yeah.
applicant decides to move forward.
Right, I mean,
Right.
yeah.
But of course, the ZBA reads this, I mean, they look at this also, this is what they're going
Yes.
on.
Well, the only thing we can really add to that is if we have specific recommendations. I mean, I'm sorry, Vicky isn't here because this is really an area of her expertise, but she's not. I don't feel qualified to give any, you know, I feel qualified to give general guidance, but I don't feel,
You know, that's what I think we should look at, I mean, just a standard, see how steep it
well,
is.
you know, I think fundamentally you're right.
Yeah.
can I just ask, what about number 5? What about preserving scenic views? Is that relevant here?
Well,
The
we,
house is
we,
above that, and the road dips sharply down in a curving fashion below this property. So there's no,
And I don't think that Maple Lane is a scenic
right.
road anyway, but
no, it's not being
There
treated
is.
as a scenic road. It's just, if it's affecting basically the scenicness of it.
right, so what about the neighbor?
they're
Because there is-
completely shielded by trees. The neighbor
And the
is,
neighbor-
It's like right across from his driveway,
oh,
Yeah.
that neighbor.
that neighbor. Yeah,
Has to drive by it every day.
For
he's the only person except the owner that's gonna have to drive by it every day.
And he will have an opportunity, because he will be noticed for the zoning board hearing.
Okay,
I will
so-
send him a certified letter notifying him of that, and he will have the opportunity to go to the meeting.
So that's completely separate from the steep slopes.
And isn't their
Mission.
house in the wood, their house is sort of in the woods.
So that doesn't have anything to do
anyway,
with-
right?
No, they will have an
So they
opportunity
might
at the
not see
zoning
it
board.
through the trees.
So, I mean, to
Okay.
Tim's point and to what you're saying, all of these are judgment calls. These are not hard, you know, we're all using our judgment, and we all have, you know, similar or different judgments. What's our judgment based on? The best judgment, to Tim's point, is if we went there. But that's up to the board.
I guess the other thought I had about the steep slope was, what is the best stewardship for that slope? I mean, is that slope, should that slope continue to be mowed as it has in the past, or should it be allowed to grow up in trees? And if that's the case, is that counter to the needs of the solar panel to have direct access
Well,
to the site?
we can't tell them, you need to grow trees here. We can only tell them whether this is an acceptable.
Right, but we can certainly say that it's not harmonious, because
If that's your judgment, you could say that.
Yeah, I mean,
Because it's not, you know, you're gonna have to keep that slope clear. Some portion, I don't know what
Right.
portion.
Presumably the downhill
but I
portion.
think, Rich,
Yeah.
I think, I mean, not, maybe this is irrelevant, but there's part of it that's so steep and it's eroding now because Rusty left it that way. I think they're gonna have to do something to fix that erosion. And, you know, put some kind of ground cover, put something.
Well, it's already grassed over.
Well, I looked at it the other day and it's, the grass is pretty thin and it's starting to, you know, every time it rains hard, it just washes everything down that.
So we could
they're gonna
say,
have to
we could
fix it
say
somehow.
that the planning board feels that the applicants need to take measures to stabilize the slope
Yeah,
and,
and I think they're gonna have to.
and
anyway.
address erosion.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I think one of the things they have no obligation, if they aren't putting anything there, they have no obligation to do anything on that slope.
That's right.
So, I think we can, I think it's fair to say, we want, if you proceed with this project.
Right.
you should not
Only
make
on
it
that
worse.
basis.
You should not make it worse, you should use good practices to.
No, actually, I disagree with you on that,
Yeah.
because once they're doing that, then we can say, you know, like Tim's pointing out, it is eroding. So they're modifying, we're always starting from the present.
Mhm.
And they're making a modification to an area that brings that area into the present. You look at it, if Tim is right and there's erosion there, we're well within our rights to say, if you do this and you're approved, it should be with the understanding that erosion and stabilization of the area would be appropriate, or is highly
That's what you're
recommended.
saying.
Well, when you say the area, are you meaning the 10 feet either side of the trench?
Well, we'd have to define it.
Or the whole
Well,
slope?
no,
I think-
Okay, good, no, I,
Yeah.
right.
That reasonable is also,
Yeah.
still,
yeah.
it's not like a fishing
I
expedition.
think we'd have to look at it and see how much an area we wanted to.
So, okay, so how does the board feel about the site visit? How many people,
I'm not enthusiastic about a site visit in the absence of it doing anything for the applicant. I mean, if the applicant's not here, maybe they're not coming to the zoning board next time.
so should we just put this on hold?
Right. I mean, the only question I would ask is whether it's worth us providing any guidance about, dear Mr. Chair of the zoning board, please make sure they don't increase any erosion.
Well, we don't have
We don't have to, because they have to come through this.
they have to come here first.
Okay.
So if we're
Well,
saying, I mean, if
then-
I'm following,
Yeah.
if you, and correct me if I'm,
Yeah.
but were you saying that, well, they're not here, so why are we saying anything? Is that right?
So, that's one way to see it, I would be comfortable saying that. The other is if we felt, I don't know, maybe they had some unfortunate event, if we supplied an opinion, I mean, the zoning board is required to ask us for an opinion.
Yeah.
If we supplied an opinion, if we could agree on an opinion that
So
this
you're-
seems fine,
you're-
this seems fine, just don't make
Okay.
the erosion worse.
So you're an either or.
I would be happy with either of those
Okay.
outcomes.
And
So-
then if we did that, I mean, if we did recommend to the ZBA tonight something, then the next time they come to the ZBA meeting, the ZBA could actually decide on it, because they've already gotten our input.
Right.
Right,
And whether we wanna do that or not, you know.
well, that's
Yeah,
what we're
that's the
talking about.
question.
That's
Yeah,
what we're
right.
talking about.
Right.
David, a question for you. This is also in the Ridgeline and Hillside Conservation District, this property.
Hold on a second.
Is it?
It's original.
Behind the house, not behind the house.
But that, what does that have to do with the steep slope?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, because the
So-
Ridgeline, the way that it's written, is that is that everything within 300 feet of a publicly maintained road is excluded.
From the ridge line,
From the ridge
Right.
line.
not from the steep slopes.
Okay,
So I think
that's
if
what,
you-
that was my question.
If you
Yeah,
look at the
way up
map
top.
up here, the green area is the ridgeline district. The proposed development is outside of the ridgeline district.
Right, that's what I was,
Oh,
but
we-
it's
this-
still in the steep
This
slope.
is
still
a
in-
really narrow consideration. The planning board is only asked for the impacts on, through the steep slopes district.
That's the only thing in the
That's
zoning
all that-
ordinance.
All that we are allowed to consider, you know, within reason.
Right.
You know, if it's gonna cause some damage that's, relates to something else, that can be brought in. But it has to originate with the impact on the steep slopes.
Where did that contour map come from?
I built that,
You did,
yes.
so you have the software to build that. I couldn't find that anywhere.
Yeah, no, I have, software to build contours pretty much anywhere.
It does magic-
Okay, so folks,
magical
we're
stuff.
going around in circles. What do we wanna do? Rich Brown brought up, two options. One is, they're not here, what are we, doing? And the second one is, well, we can move this thing along, by making a general comment without a site visit. So what are people's responses to that?
I move, we not offer any opinion to the zoning board.
Okay, I can live with that.
Okay, and then they wouldn't even need to come to the ZBA the next meeting.
They
They'd
can't.
have to- Right.
No,
they'd have to
I
wait
will,
till-
they're going to get dropped off the schedule.
Right, right, and then they'd have to wait for us to,
Okay,
whoever was.
so we're,
And can we also further say that we want to know where the panel is gonna go and where the disturbance to get it back to those two power sockets or wherever they're gonna be tying them into,
Right.
you know, where the trenching.
so, okay, so can you get, ask them this?
Yep, and what I, but I
That's not
also
in
asked,
Oh, actually, maybe it is in the ridgeline, could be.
No,
No, I
well, the
don't
other,
think it is.
but it,
The other one was.
right, the other
in
one could
green
be,
area.
might be in the ridge line, but that's, again, not outside right now, the board's purview.
Yeah,
That
this
will be
is a
dealt with
narrow
at the
consideration.
zoning
Yeah.
board.
Okay,
So you're gonna tell them, hey, you didn't show up?
Yes, there's no, I would just say, you know, no one here, the board wanted some more information.
Yeah,
And
and-
so, why don't we try to reschedule a next meeting?
Okay, and what is it you wanted to get, Rich?
And
I think we should know where there's two panels, actually,
Yep.
two, unit trackers, and then
So
where
what-
where,
You wanna know where we know where the trackers are going on.
well, no, actually have them put
Oh,
some
put
stakes.
stakes, okay,
So we
so,
can see.
so
And
we'd
then
like
also-
stakes.
And then also a couple locations along the route of the trenching for the
Right.
power line.
Okay.
So we don't think we wanna have a site visit before our next meeting.
Well, people
Yeah.
could go and see it, or we could actually meet out there.
Well, if they're, so I guess if they're gonna stake it, they should let us know. And then, we don't need to go together,
Right, if we don't go together, it's easy.
it's
Or
easy,
two people could go, and then that wouldn't be a quorum, so we
Right.
could, right.
Right.
yeah.
Well, yes. And then if we stand there and say, oh, that's great, or if we stand there and say, I can't tell, then we could have a site visit if we needed to.
A formal site
A formal
Yeah,
site
well, that
visit.
makes sense.
Yeah,
so what if he comes down because you're hanging around his property and
Well,
starts talking
I'm
to you?
gonna ask him to stake it out, and then I will tell him the board members will be stopping by to look
Yeah,
at it.
and I'm-
So,
and if
sure
he
he'd be
objects, he can
happy.
tell us.
Well, I mean, I know Greg, he'd be happy to come out and talk to you when we come, because he's already said,
No,
he said, I
but
really
this-
like this.
But it's a good question. David's going to address it with him. If he objects, he'll tell us, no, I don't want
Yeah,
you
no,
on
I
the
think he-
property.
yeah, and then if he doesn't want anyone on the property, then.
Once you submit an app, the applicant.
I
is
assume,
required
I mean,
to
he would
review
get
on the
rejected.
Yeah, no, he would be more than
But
happy.
he could say, I don't want you on my property.
Oh,
Yes, and by submitting an application,
I thought you were agreeing.
you're agreeing to
but he could withdraw.
You could
his-
agree to a site visit, not to have anybody randomly come in and look at it. A
So-
site visit would be
so in
more
any case-
defined and more
Right.
controlled.
But
Dave-
in reality, I
oh, boy.
know, in reality, I know that he'd be more than happy to
Okay,
meet people
but
there.
we never deal with reality.
Yeah.
So you'll just ask him to address that.
Yes.
Is it okay if individual members are wandering around your property in a state of great inebriation? And, yeah,
And David, those two parallel lines that run across the bottom there, that's the road.
That's the
That's
road.
Shoestrap,
So that-
Maple Lane, yeah.
Maple Lane.
So that you could actually see a lot likely just from the road.
That's what those
Yeah,
pictures are.
exactly, so that you might say, I've seen enough to have an informed opinion, I don't even need to walk up into his land. But having those stakes there would be really.
that'd be helpful.
Okay.
All right, so we're agreed, we're not gonna do anything. David will contact him and we'll take it as it comes.
Do we feel comfortable that people will, I mean, I don't think we should be then saying, oh, well, we're not gonna be able to meet again until a month from now, because our visits were inconclusive or something. I mean, should we be scheduling a site visit anyways as a group, or not?
Let's find out why they didn't come.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I would guess that he's given up on the whole thing.
I don't get that impression, so.
No, there may
So-
have been a miscommunication or something.
you know, and.
He's really gotta get this, if he wants to get the 30%, he's gotta get this done, and paid for by,
Well, Soliflex still, it's like advertising for you to be able to do it,
Yeah,
so.
right.
yeah, a
This
month
year.
from now,
Yeah.
if we can't
Well, that's
deal
the
with it
thing,
for
yeah,
a month,
yeah, I
or a
know.
month and
All
a
right,
half.
so
That's
so
fine.
let's go over that scenario. So 2 weeks from now, or is it 2 weeks from, yeah,
It's
2 weeks from now, we've all gone and looked at it. And we have a meeting, and the possibility is that we're still not satisfied? I mean,
So maybe what we.
I don't
can
wanna
say-
make 2 visits to
Yeah.
the,
No, but I mean, if it's completely unclear, I think we can say to David, boy, I really couldn't get a sense, you know, the stakes are there. I don't know what I think. David could then say, it's the sense of, board, we wanna have an actual site visit, because that means a board meeting.
could you
But Rich, don't you
do
think
that
if
without
we've all
us
seen
having a
it,
meeting about it?
And then we're all sitting
Say that
here
again?
talking about it.
Could
it's
you
almost-
schedule a
almost
site
the same.
plan,
Right.
I mean, a site visit without, outside
I
of
would
the-
prefer to wait, because trying to schedule, a meeting like that is like trying to herd cats. And,
Yeah, yeah. no, I-
between
I
getting
agree.
Oh, yeah.
them and you, everyone together.
You know what, I think the bottom line is the applicants didn't show up. And I'd like to be as helpful as possible, but there's a point at which, they didn't show up. And maybe they had an emergency, and, we'll do everything to move it along within the context, but what are we gonna do?
So David's
And
gonna
you still
ask me
have
what stakes.
2 meetings prior to the next available zoning board.
Okay, so
So-
let's leave it at that.
Oh,
We'll try to, they'll ask them to put stakes.
And we'll try to go and see
Each
it.
one of us will try to go and look at them constructively
Right,
and have a formed opinion at the next meeting.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. And we'll do everything to
Yeah,
expedite
and it
it.
seems like even if we've all seen it, and we're all sitting here talking, it's almost the same as all being there together. I mean, we've all seen it, so,
Yeah.
so we probably don't have to go as a whole group,
No.
if we've all seen it.
Right, I don't think we need 2 visits.
No.
Do you have literature for us?
Yes, I have
Very sure. Yeah.
some very light bedtime reading.
Sure.
It will particularly enjoy it, Dave, because it all came from a lawyer.
Oh, well.
Then
it'll be fine.
All lawyers are the same.
No, we have still a little bit, well, not quite.
We have a lawyer in our family too,
I have a little
so
bit.
we all have our
We're
crosses to bear.
close.
I'm married to
We're
her.
close.
Oh, so that's all?
I actually had someone call up and introduce themselves and said, I'm a lawyer, and I said, I'm sorry about that.
My condolences.
so what is our charge or our,
Thank you,
what
sir.
are we supposed to do with this?
So with the condo approval, we go through the application. We go through the checklist.
Yeah, we'll jump to the regular checklist, which is mostly waivers because, you've already approved the site plan. So all the layouts are all approved. So there's nothing new. So this is just a formality,
Well,
really.
except that people are, the members of the board and alternates are free to raise issues.
Yep. If you look at the very last page of this, I did include the one RSA that deals with zoning, land use, and condominiums, just for your own knowledge. And I am treating this as a minor subdivision. You could be, you can do a major, in your case, you did a major condo subdivision.
At the lodge, yes, right.
This one I'm treating as a minor because a major is described as 3 units in a building. And there are 3 buildings involved here with no more than 2 units per building. So,
Okay.
that was not clear in the subdivision regulations, so in my opinion, I said, well, it's gonna have to be a minor because there's not more than 3 per building.
There's no building with 3.
With 3.
And
So-
so you
so the
mentioned the
front unit
checklist,
Yeah.
the checklist is
two.
what,
Yep.
where?
It's like,
And he's
Um,
put a unit behind, and that's
In the
only 2.
subdivision.
That's only 2?
And then he's gonna put 2 in the
Subdivision.
barn,
Yeah, it should be.
where is it?
right on the back side
So
of
it's
the
not
common.
the site plan.
It's the really expensive
Site
white
plan.
But
building.
if you're
No, and this is-
standing in front of Lyme Country
Well,
Store,
let's-
looking
I'll
straight
talk
back,
about the same.
you have the semi-building Lyme Computer, which is now Brett's building, and then I believe the,
Line woodlands.
yeah, Lyme Woodlands, the magazine, and then Ray's is the 3rd one down.
It's where Tracy Flickinger used to live.
Yeah.
David,
David, I think you should
Have you
just-
been here long enough to?
The
My daughter's
checklist, is the
kindergarten.
checklist in the subdivision regulation?
Um,
Um,
it should be in the checklist, no, they're not in the regulations, they're built off of,
So could you send the checklist to everybody?
I would know.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, sometimes you're there. It's-
Thank you.
Two problems.
All right, so does anybody have any other issues? No? No psychoanalytical?
Right, so the checklist
The
is.
planning board can't
no,
help.
I was
us.
thinking about
I
Sure.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
I find it very entertaining. I would like to make a motion on recommendation of my colleague, Rich Brown, to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Third, fourth, and
This is a
fifth.
record. This is a record.
It's a record.